Twitter shares close at their lowest since going public. Does it make the company an easy acquisition target? I'm Emily Chang, and this is Bloomberg West. Coming up, President Obama lays out an ambitious clean power plan. We'll get reaction from the CEO of Sunpower. Plus, Stripe CEO joins me to talk about the company's $5 billion valuation and taking on PayPal. And the CEO of Github is here with a new $2 billion valuation and more on the future of open source. All of that ahead on Bloomberg West. First to our lead, a stock we are watching, and that is Twitter. Shares tumbling to the lowest price since the company's IPO almost 2 years ago, pushing Twitter below $20 billion in market value. I want to get straight to our senior markets correspondent, Julie Hyman in New York. Julie, we've been watching Twitter all day long. This has been a steady march down from last week after those comments from interim CEO Jack Dorsey and CFO Anthony Noto that we shouldn't be expecting Twitter to hit a mass market anytime soon.
That's right, that it's going to be a long process for the company. So we did indeed see it touch an intraday low today and a record low. In fact, you got the stock price for the year to date on the chart behind me. And yes, really the slide was set off this week by that earnings report. But really the slide also began when you saw it fall off a cliff earlier this year at the last earnings report when the company was cautious on its outlook. So Twitter has had a long slog, a hard slog for a long time now. It's down about 18% year to date. And as you said, touched the lowest price since the IPO. We'll see if it indeed dips below the IPO price. But all of this is just reflective of the fact that sentiment surrounding Twitter is not strong right now. One thing that did surprise me, though, today when you look at the stock price and what we have seen is that the short interest is actually relatively low. So, yes, even though people are selling the shares, it's interesting that after the declines we've seen, they're not necessarily willing to go outright short. About 4.7% of the stock's float is sold short at this point in time, Emily.
Now, Julie, hang on. I want to bring in our M&A reporter, Alex Sherman. Alex, you've just put a piece out that this makes Twitter an easier acquisition target. I wonder if easy is the right word to use, though, with still a $20 billion market cap.
Exactly, Emily. And I think it speaks to Julie's last point there, that actually, in order for Twitter to become potentially a real acquisition target to, say, Google or Facebook, the stock may need to fall even more, and investors perhaps not betting that it will. We spoke to some, my colleague Sarah Fryer and I spoke to some investors today. A couple investors said you could look for Twitter to maybe fall to $20, even $17 a share. Then maybe it would be an appealing acquisition target. It's still nowhere near that level. So it's possible that even with the fall so far, it's still too expensive.
Right. And, you know, my question still is, does Jack Dorsey, do the founders of Twitter really want to sell this company, Julie? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen any willingness really expressed at that point, and whoever would acquire it would have to have that patience that investors, or at least traders right now, seem to be lacking. In other words, if Twitter's message to the market is what we're trying to achieve is going to take time, then you're going to need a parent company that will have that patience. Now, Facebook itself asked investors for patience, so maybe it would have it. I mean, Google has a lot of these sort of moonshots and other things that are long-term projects, but still, that's an awfully big acquisition to swallow and then wait for it to turn around and bear fruit.
It would be the largest. It would be the largest acquisition for either Facebook or Google ever. So it would be,
right.
You know, it's a significant acquisition. And by the way, we've heard no actual good source indicate that Twitter is for sale.
Right. And the only thing that I've heard from investor Chris Sacca, a very early investor in Twitter, he said, look, there's no board religion that absolutely they would never sell. Ultimately, they're going to do what is responsible for the company. But I wonder, Alex, at what point is responsible not selling versus selling?
So there's the two things we've talked about here is the price may not be low enough, and Twitter may not be for sale. But there's a third question out there, which is, should Twitter be for sale? In other words, can Twitter do what it wants to do as an independent company? And that's what I think investors potentially may be pressuring Twitter on in the next, say, 12 months or so. Can you get user growth up to the levels that you need to in order, without pairing up with a Google or a Facebook? And maybe the fact is, the answer is it's easier to sell. So that's the question moving forward.
You said it more eloquently than I could have. Alex Sherman, our M&A reporter, Julie Hyman, our senior markets correspondent. We're going to continue to watch Twitter, of course, and especially where it opens tomorrow. President Obama puts his stamp on America's clean energy legacy. In a speech today, Obama announced an $8.4 billion set of sweeping policies to cut greenhouse gas emissions from power plants and encourage the adoption of renewable energy. If the plan survives legal challenges, 28% of all U.S. power will come from renewables by 2013. That's a big jump from the estimated 5.5% that comes from wind and solar right now. Joining me now, the CEO of the second largest solar panel producer in the country, Tom Werner of Sunpower, joining me from Mountain View. So, Tom, everybody's focusing on the political ramifications right now, but I want to know how big a blow is this to coal power, and how big a boon could this be to renewables?
Well, it's a really big deal. We've seen the cost of solar come down so dramatically that it's already mainstreaming, and now we have this. We're going to see solar really explode because of this, and it's economic, so it's eliminating conventional energy sources over time. Now, it's early days, but the growth potential in the U.S. for the next 15 years is going to get a huge boost because of this.
So, what does this mean for Sunpower specifically? How do you think this will affect your business?
Oh, it'll have a really positive impact on our business. We work great with American utilities. American utilities are showing leadership and they're going solar, and this will only incentivize them to go faster into solar. We're an American company. We've been doing this for 30 years. It's our 30th anniversary. So this is going to have a really positive impact on our business, and we think partnering with the American utilities to deliver what President Obama has committed to.
So what about in terms of technology? What new opportunities do these policies present?
Well, the knock on solar used to be it's not economic. That just doesn't exist anymore. We all know that it's economic. So now the question is, how do you get solar energy and be able to use it when there isn't sunshine? So what we need to do is we need to have a two-way grid, and we need to have some form of storage so that we can use sunshine whenever we want to use it. So this is going to spur a whole bunch of innovation that's already started. It's just going to make it go faster on how to use solar energy all the time.
Now, on the one hand, you guys have a partnership with SolarCity, but you're also competitors there. So far, what sort of immediate impact have you seen from the joint venture with SolarCity so far?
Yeah, the joint venture is a yield co. It's called 8.3. It's with First Solar. And what that's done is it gives us a predictable place to sell projects, which gives us an economic cost of capital. So essentially, it lowers the cost of power from a solar energy, usually a power plant, sometimes commercial buildings, and a little bit on residential. So what it shows is the risk premium of solar electricity has come down so much that the public will buy a vehicle that will own a lot of solar assets, making solar energy more economic. So it's good for both companies. It's good for solar in general. And it's just another way to get the economics of solar even better.
And so what do you think of the Tesla battery, and what do you think the impact that battery, what do you think the impact is that battery is going to have on the market?
Well, I'll give it to Elon Musk. He can market, and his Tesla battery is causing people to say, hey, this is for real. We need to do this. So we're battery agnostic. We think there's going to be a lot of great technologies, and it's helping mainstream storage. Now, it's a little early. It's going to take a few years. But as we mainstream storage, then you can use solar energy when you want. You combine that with energy management, and you get a great solution because you can control how you use energy and how you produce it, and you're going to have total control in the future.
All right, Sunpower CEO Tom Werner, thank you so much for joining us. Really important talking about the future of clean energy today. Up next, Stripe CEO Patrick Collison on his new partnership with Visa, how the company plans to expand its global reach. And I sit down with Chris Wanstrath with a bumper funding round under his belt. What is the Github CEO planning next? Visa is leading a $100 million funding round in Stripe, valuing the San Francisco startup at $5 billion. And Visa is betting big on Stripe's ability to make digital payments more secure. I sat down with Stripe CEO and co-founder Patrick Collison earlier today and asked what both Stripe and Visa get out of it.
We're sort of trying to move credit card numbers off merchant servers, trying to get them sort of to transmit the cards directly from the consumer to Stripe, so that sort of credit card numbers aren't in as many different places. And obviously this has been a big focus of Visa too, through what they too have been calling tokenization. And so generally we just want to sort of work together more in order to ensure that the kind of security state of the ecosystem moves forward.
And by tokenization, you really mean make digital payments more secure, right?
Absolutely, yes. You should not be giving your credit card number like a credential that enables people to sort of withdraw arbitrary amounts of money from your account to every merchant that you transact with, right? This is obviously not the sort of the ideal state of the industry on a 10, 20-year time horizon.
Who are Stripe's 3 biggest customers?
We don't disclose that. We couldn't possibly disclose the particular size of our biggest users.
Okay, how about this? Can you talk about what a typical payments volume is for a certain customer? Typical annual payments volume?
It spans everything. It's like from somebody sort of starting their first side project, some experiment. We've people running many businesses on Stripe and sort of waiting to see which one takes off. And so kind of at the very earliest stages of the innovation, like the prototypical YC company or something like this, at the front